Ever since Europeans arrived in the New World, people have been stupidly introducing any number of plant and animal species into the environment that have no business being there. This includes things like wild pigs, which were introduced as a food source for Spanish explorers. They'd actually drop pigs off on islands and other places because they breed so easily, and if anyone ever got shipwrecked, then maybe there'd already be a pig population for them to eat. The problem is that pigs eat everything, and this caused irreparable harm to the native species. Later, some hunters would introduce wild boars to North America because they wanted to hunt them, and those boars mated with the pigs, and now we have to worry about hogzillas. Seriously, look it up. You can find stories of hunters shooting 1,000-pound pigs. It's nuts. Starlings were also introduced because some group called the American Acclimatization Society decided it was a good idea to introduce various foreign species to North America for reasons that we now see are dumb. There's also talk about how a guy named Eugene Schieffelin wanted every bird that was mentioned in Shakespeare's plays to also have a home in North America. Look, I like drama as much as anyone, but I can look at pictures of starlings if I need my starling fix. They don't need to be here. Zebra mussels are actually the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of invasive species. This is because when I went to Lake Erie in 6th grade as part of the Ohio State University Stone Lab program, this is the species they spent a lot of time talking about. It was the first time the concept of an invasive species was introduced to me. Zebra mussels originally came from Russia and were introduced because they were inside the ballast water that shipping containers would use to keep their ships from capsizing. Because the Great Lakes are used for shipping transport, eventually the ballast water would be dumped into the lakes, thus introducing the species. Now these things absolutely litter the Great Lakes. Seriously, you can't pick up a single stone without being covered with these things. People's boats get coated too and pipes will get clogged. You do not want these things in your water source. In addition to these animals, we've also introduced countless plant species. One such example of an introduced plant species is the tree of heaven. Now I've decided that I'm going to try and do a series that covers these various invasive species while also doing my best to draw these species so you can do a poor job of identifying them. I will also include regular pictures of these species so you can do a good job of identifying them and don't accidentally kill your mom's favorite native tree because some YouTube channel with poor drawing skills told you to start uprooting everything in their yard. If you need assistance identifying plants and you have an iPhone, you can also take pictures of various plants and there will be a little icon that I've pointed to with a red arrow that comes up under the picture. You can then click on the icon and it will identify the plant in question. It's normally pretty accurate and can help you learn about new plants whether they're native or invasive. There are other apps you can download as well, but my iPhone has worked well enough for me. Either way, it's fun learning about plants in your surroundings. Now, I'm personally passionate about this topic because I have noticed there's a lot of xenophobia in the US, which I find shameful. However, what I would like to do is what is known in psychology as sublimation, in which you turn negative feelings or impulses and channel them into something positive. In this case, I'd like to encourage people who have negative feelings toward foreign people who come to the United States, instead direct that energy into destroying foreign plants and not harassing minorities. Destroying invasive species isn't just for xenophobes, though. Seriously, when I'm having a stressful day, I channel my inner Paul Bunyan and I go out and cut down some of the invasive honeysuckle in the woods behind my house. It's great because as long as I'm cutting honeysuckle, I feel good knowing that I'm improving the health of the forest, getting good exercise, and I'm also too occupied focusing on my task to let the dark thoughts creep into my head. Anyway, the subject of today's video is known as a tree of heaven. Its scientific name is Ailanthus altissima. It is also known as the varnish tree, copal tree, stinking sumac, Chinese sumac, paradise tree, or in Chinese as Chou Chun, maybe, probably. I don't know, that might be how you say it. Its favorite place to grow is along the side of highways, in between the cracks in sidewalks, and basically anywhere there's soil at all because it's an invasive species and it grows everywhere. It can reach heights of up to 15 meters tall, or 50 feet if you're using freedom units. It lives between 50 to 100 years, and it smells funny. You can see that the branches have semi-slendered pointed leaves that pair up with one leaf on the end. The leaves are mostly green, but sometimes they can take on a reddish tint. The red parts in the middle are the seeds, and often have some yellow-green interspersed that's hard to draw. I did some etchings on the leaves on top because it was fun. This plant is native to China and was introduced to the United States because people found it to be aesthetically pleasing and would often place it in their gardens to give them a bit of a more exotic feeling. It would later lose favor, though, because of its stench and its ability to rapidly grow and crowd out other plants. Now, as some of you might be saying, "Hey, lazy boy, isn't that the same drawing you used in your last video?" To which I say, "Hey, thanks for watching my other video. Your support means a lot to me." When you see this tree, though, make sure to cut it down and really get down to the roots because it loves to start sending out new little shoots at the base like the resilient little SOB that it is. The other reason to cut down this tree is because it is the place where the spotted lanternfly likes to have their offspring. Here's my drawing of both the adult flies as well as a nymph. You might have heard about this species on the news because it recently came to the United States and there have been campaigns asking people to squish on sight. They like to feed on crops like soybeans, grapes, and peaches and are generally considered to be a nuisance. Now, normally, parasitic wasps are supposed to handle their populations, so in China they are better regulated. However, we definitely shouldn't introduce any of those wasp species here because every time we introduce one species to eliminate another species, it always bites us in the butt and ends up messing up the ecosystem even more. If you want to kill these lanternflies and you find them hard to catch and squish, then reviews online say white vinegar can kill them, though there's debate about its effectiveness. I would recommend trying some weed killer strength vinegar from your hardware store because it will kill the tree of heaven and hopefully as a bonus kill the lanternflies as well. I think that's all for now. Let me know in the comments if there are more invasive species you want me to talk about and I can try to cover them. I'm thinking about going for the Bradford pear tree next, or maybe talking more about honeysuckle. Please like, share, subscribe as it helps grow the channel, inspires me to keep making new stuff. Death to the tree of heaven, death to the lanternflies, and I'll see you all later.